Hi everyone, it's Mark here again. I'm the founder of the Arts and Culture Network, and I'm proving today that we are a truly global community because I'm joined by Abe. Abe is one of our recent full members, and and was with us yesterday on one of our networking calls. So it's lovely to be able to introduce you to him. Abe, would you like to say hello to everyone?
Well, hello, everyone. Such a pleasure to be here with Mark. Mark's fantastic. The community is fantastic. It's already led me into some great relationships that are foundational starts of new beginnings, and I'm really excited about being here.
That's great. Thank you so much. And remind us where you are, where you're based.
I live upon 5 acres of beautiful land in Elmira, Oregon. That's on the west coast of Oregon in the United States, near Eugene.
Excellent. Eugene is that the capital of Oregon?
No, Salem's the capital, but Eugene is one of the hearts of Oregon. It has the University of Oregon Ducks, which is a big football place, and they also have they have a lot of science and other aspects I could get into some other time.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
Now I'm going to dive in. I've seen some of your work and I love it. And
excellent.
we've had a quick look before, but it's all about wood and um there's a story behind that, which I know Abe's going
It
to
sure is.
tell us about the philosophy and the approach to the work that you do, Abe.
So the wood part of it, because I also do a lot of soft arts, but the wood part of it came about with a relationship to a millwright that lives locally to me. He lives about a mile away. His name's Rod Jacobs at Unique Woods, and his whole premise and process is that he is looking for the most beauty in wood. Most mills are looking to optimize the most output of straight 2x4s or building material. And what he's doing is essentially he's a gem cutter for wood. And he mills for primarily luthiers, and they ship all over the world to really high-end guitar makers, violin makers. We have a relationship with the Association of Violin Makers of America. We're working with the Coquille tribe to foster hardwoods in the production and the economics of forestry, to reintroduce hardwoods as a viable commodity, to actually save them, because if they don't get bought, then they end up actually getting pushed into slash piles, doused in diesel and burned. And so we want to accentuate that beauty and its value to our whole community in adding that into our access in life. And so through the process of getting to know him, helping him run the mill, he's been giving me these epic pieces of figured maple and other hardwoods to play with. And so the first one I got was the elephant, which I know you'd like to share. And the elephant was a second tier of this tree up in the canopy, and it was 4.5 feet around. And that 4.5 feet around is got a cleft in it, and that means that the bark in inclusion, the bark had started growing into the tree itself and creating this where the ear is. And he said, "I'm going to give you this piece. It's stunning figure. The only caveat is you have to use that cleft in the piece of wood for something, that inclusion." And so I flipped it and flipped it and flipped it, and finally this elephant just popped out of it. And 3 hours later, I had it blocked in with my chainsaw, and there you have it. And the ear is actually a prime example of what we call spalting. And so a hardwood tree of this age, which is about 300 to 350 years old, they die from the inside out. And so you'll get this red line at the border of the where it starts to rot from the inside out. You'll get this spalting, and spalting is a mold growth that is a stunning character. And so you have the juxtaposition of that life cycle within the piece, and really accentuates the just like the distilled sunlight of an entire lifetime. And you want to do that honor, and the
Yeah.
honor of that is to really capture the essence of the spirit of that tree. And like Mike, or not Michelangelo, the Da Vinci said, "I just chipped away what didn't need to be there." It's that it really is that striking that that sense that you get when you go, oh, wow, that's already there. I'm merely some hands that you know get
It's
to
it's
that I
beautiful. And
get
how
to allow that to happen.
it's fantastic. And where is it? I know you're suggesting this is for sale at the moment, but where is it? And how big is it?
It is 4 foot by 4 foot, and it's actually wall mount. So this is a staged photo my buddy Simeon Schatz took,
Right,
and fantastic photographer. He really does my work justice. And so this is a wall mount piece, and it hangs on essentially what's called a French cleat.
right,
And so, yeah, 4 foot by 4 foot, and then the ear with the ear sticking out, it's probably about a foot and a half deep,
right.
and it looks fantastic on the wall. I
It
have some
does.
photos of that too that we weren't able to put on the website, but um, so this is that dragon is a prime example of the spalting I was talking about. So
Okay.
this is a choice piece of black line spalt, and that black line and the kind of tan colors that you can see in there are actually a mold growth that is part of the process of the tree going through the end of life.
Right. So these are not, it's not all knife
It's
stroke.
not all the carving. So if you look at the base of that, where the wing kind of shape meets the dragon head,
Yeah.
those black lines and red, the red is that heart bleed that I was talking about, and the black
Right.
line around it is the black line spalt, and that's a really sought after pattern that some people are actually inoculating wood and waiting years to make it.
Wow.
And to my in my humble opinion, it's never as beautiful and genuine as when you have a tree that has lived for that long with its story that it has to tell, because they really do have a story. You can see it
Yeah.
when they're standing, you can see it when you're parsing it out into these gems.
What tales these trees could tell.
Oh, absolutely,
It's
absolutely.
fantastic. And then also there's one, I think there was one more. Um,
There's a few more. I've left a lot off the site because of time and whatnot to allow, you know, I will be putting new work up there from time to time.
yeah,
Currently, I am doing much more in the space of helping artists and others to really get in touch with that sense of relationship to their lives and their world in a healthier way through mindset.
yeah,
Mindset being the stories we tell ourselves to ourselves about ourselves, and really unpacking the stories we have about what it means to be successful in life. And as an artist, we have all of these overlays that a lot of us drag around with stories about the starving artist. How many
yeah,
times have you heard that one?
yeah.
Really helping people unpack those stories, where they come from, and helping them move through them and beyond them to
Well,
be more productive.
these are beautiful as well. And for those people who would like to enjoy your work firsthand and support the work you're doing, who might not be able to afford a 4x4 elephant, uh,
Yeah.
then
Well,
there's some
the
beautiful
prints,
work here.
I find the prints are very accessible, and as far as the price point,
Yeah,
and I've kept them as reasonable as possible so that people can enjoy them, and a lot of people really do. This is, like I said, a sampling of a broader scope of work,
yeah,
and a selection that people really enjoy. And I've taken these to festivals and things of that nature, and had some amazing reactions
yeah,
to really a heart connection. This one, for instance, was a commission from a lady in town here, and she just said, paint whatever you want. This is the space I have. And I didn't show it to her until I hung it on her wall. And you know she had no idea how what was going to happen. And when she saw this, she's like, she burst into tears
I can
of
quite imagine.
incredible joy. And she was like, this, I didn't even know this is what I wanted, but this is exactly it. You
Mm.
nailed it. This is about, it's a full piece of aquarelle 300-pound cold press
Yeah.
watercolor paper. So it's fairly sizable, the
This
original.
this is wonderful. So if those watching would like to go and explore some more, it's at beauty.
I invite you to, please.
Yeah, thank you. Beautyseedstudios.com. So excellent. So that's a little taster of Abe's work. Now we're going to have some fun, Abe. I'm conscious of your time, so I don't want to take up too much.
Well, one note on those prints,
Yeah,
most of those are simply a brush, some water, some ink, and a blotter.
and that's it.
And so it's like people get these ideas that it has to be complicated to be something of value. And really, you can do a lot with very little.
Yeah, it's great. Right now we've got to.
Okay, let's have
I'm
some
gonna
fun.
Let's have some fun. I'm going to give you a whistle stop tour, a fantasy trip around the world.
All
Um,
right.
it'll be quite fast paced because we've got to get through quite a
I'm
bit.
all in.
It's excellent. So I'm gonna place you somewhere in the world by asking you what's your favorite building?
Whoa. I mean, that's such a tough one. Uh, I would say that my favorite, you mean like sizable city
Yeah,
building?
piece of architecture.
The Chrysler building in New York City is pretty phenomenal.
It is. I
The
love it.
elevator in that
Yeah,
building is like a mastercraft.
it is. Right. So I want you to imagine it's June. We're in New York City. It's 6 p.m. It's sunny. You're sitting at a pavement cafe in sight of the Chrysler building looking up. Okay. On your right is a book. It's a book that might have changed your life. It might have saved your life. It might have been with you all your life, or it might be your favorite book or a recent discovery. What book am I putting on the table beside you?
Oh, well, I bought this book because its binding actually was the most beautiful binding. It's pigskin, red leather pigskin binding. And it's Jung's Red Book. It's his exploration of his own psychology through dream work, written out in three different voices, having a conversation with different parts of himself. And to me, that is like, I want to know myself. I want the exploration. That's why I do art. That's why I talk to people. That's why I do mindset coaching. I want to know myself. And through that, be able to find the clarity to step into service of others.
Brilliant.
And Jung
That's
really taught me a ton about that.
Young's Red Book as a leather pigskin cover.
Oh man, it's
Yeah,
a beautiful book, and it would look great sitting beside me. I mean, people can't help but notice that book.
brilliant. Okay, on your left is a drink. Given
Uh-huh.
that it's 6 p.m., sunny New York City, what are we having?
Well, we're having coffee with a bunny on its
Coffee
lid.
with a bunny. Love it.
Coffee is kind of it's been a long time favorite companion of contemplation, of engagement, sitting around a coffee shop having these kinds of conversations with people I didn't know or have known for decades. Every time I am able to do that, I find somebody that has something really interesting to tell me, to learn from, and an exploration that we can have together about life, about what it means to be um, in this very strange realm of reality that we find ourselves in, and to accentuate the joy and creative spirit that we share together. So,
Oh, brilliant. I love that. Dogs and coffee. If you share that, you end up sharing those.
oh yeah.
Because if you're out walking, then dogs are a conversation point.
Yeah, we have
And
a multi-poo, and people love, especially kids. They
yeah,
love that little sweet creature.
well,
I do too.
sitting down here next to me is what we thought was a Maltese Shih Tzu cross.
Uh-huh.
But the vet said that there is some bulldog in him, which would make him a bullshit.
Well, it occurs to me that my website's uh, letters are BS. So
Yeah.
I know all about bullshit, and
Yeah.
sometimes the stories we tell ourselves can be bullshit. So
Yeah, my favorite faux pas in that respect was when PowerGen, the company PowerGen,
uh-huh.
they opened an Italian office, and they needed a web address for PowerGen in Italy.
Uh-huh.
So quite rightly, they decided Power Gen Italia, which is
Power genitalia. That's real. I real quick. I once did a flyer for a band in Ashland when I was younger, and they were stoked on the flyer, but I made a typo, and the band's name was Sisters of the Revolution, and
yeah.
I left out one letter, and it ended up going to print, and the flyer said Sisters of the Revulsion.
That's really,
Oops.
yeah, those folk
Oops.
back in the 80s, I once sent out 300 letters, actual printed letters, 300 letters to Dear Sir or Madman.
Well, you could have sent it to me. I went, yep,
Yeah.
yep, that's accurate.
Yeah, I got a better response rate for that than I did for anything else. Anyway, we digress. Right. So there you are.
Happy accidents.
Yes, there you are within sight of in the
I'm there.
shade of the Chrysler. Now, you're feeling quite pleased with yourself because you've just come from a meeting in the Chrysler building with a wealthy American foundation family. And they have discovered your work. Somebody recommended you to them, and they would like to pay you to spend a year visiting another country, exploring the art of wood in that country.
So it needs to be a country that has appropriate wood. Well, my family is most of my family is from the area around in and around Poland,
Okay.
and specifically Krakow and Warsaw. And I have an uncle that lives outside of Krakow, and they have some of the best forests. They have actually some of the only old growth, truly first growth, old growth forests in Europe left.
Wow. Okay.
And I've always wanted to go explore those forests and go mushroom hunting and do all those things. And to be able to go there and apply my craft to that would be the place that I would choose for
So
that.
it's you got the job. It's first class all the way. A beautiful house homestead to stay in the middle of the forest while you're doing your work and you're meeting other artists and sort of catching up with long lost family members. And so you're on the plane, okay, on the way, and you turned left on the plane because you're traveling first class. You're lying down on a bed at the front of the aeroplane. You've got your own steward. Now the steward comes over to you and says, there is one condition of your trip. We'd like to study the impact on you of only listening to one specific genre of music for 12 months. To the exclusion of all else, what are you going to listen to?
Oh, if I had to listen to it for 12 months, it would definitely be classical and likely, the Bach, um, that era
Yep.
of classical specifically.
Okay, we'll give you Handel, Bach, um, and Vivaldi. There we go.
Oh, I can dig that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'll be nice.
I mean, I could
That's
put
it.
together a score for that right now.
Cool. Okay, now you arrive in Krakow and a group of friends, some of whom claim to be relations, meet you at the airport with your name on a card, and they whisk you into a limousine and they take you into to your homestead, which is it's not far out of Krakow. Okay, so they say, right, we're going to come back later and we're going to take you out to a dance performance. And in Krakow, you can see any dance form you like. We can show you. This is a magical year as well, by the way.
Oh, sure.
So you can have any dance performance you like performed in front of you. You can have any dancers, living or dead, any style, any group, any nationality. What would you like to see?
Wow. I mean, as far as a performance, I I went and saw the Chinese in Exile um dance, which is based around kind of the Falun Gong arts,
Mm-hmm.
and that whole style of the Asia Pacific and the Orient really sing to me as far as a style of movement. So I don't know
We'll
what
give you a
genre that would be, but it would be something akin to that, I think.
okay, we'll give you a kind of compendium of South Asian and
Yeah, yeah.
Asia Pacific dance. Love that. Now they're taking you out to dinner afterwards, and you get to choose the cuisine. What would you like to eat?
Well, my birthday dinner is always one of two things. It's either a very nice grass-fed ribeye with a lot of fat, or very high-end ramen.
Wow. Okay, let's assume that you're going out to dinner. It is your birthday, and you get both. Right.
I could do that.
Yeah. Now tomorrow is sport day in Poland. What do you want to go and watch?
Well, it's not a recognized sport typically, but I love, and I actually listen to and do as part of my coaching practice, I live tabletop role-playing games. So I don't know if any of you or any of the audience are familiar with like Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
That is something that I have done and participated in since I was a very young child. And actually listening to it or watching it live to me is not the same as watching paint dry. I enjoy
Right.
it.
Okay, you need to track down Joffrey Schumann. He's one of our full members.
Oh,
Uh,
great.
he's a big fan and he's a composer and he writes music for his worlds that he creates.
Excellent.
Joffrey Schumann. Yeah.
Love to.
Yeah, that would be good. Excellent. Okay. Now, the next in Poland, there's a touring exhibition. It's a digital art gallery on tour around the world using screens, projection, immersion, 360 sound, and virtual reality that allows you to step into any painting. So you've got the VR stuff on, you step in, you can look around, you can move around, the characters in there move. Um, it's a complete immersion into a work of art. Whose work would you like to step into?
I don't even remember the artist's name, and it's a painting in an obscure corner in the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City,
Mhm.
and it's called August Hay.
August Hay.
Yep. And I don't know that it's in their digital catalog.
Is it
It's and
Hay?
yeah, hay as in hayfield.
Right. August
And
Hay.
it's a fantastic little piece of art. It's a not a big painting.
Yeah.
It captures the essence of that hot summer day in a way that really sings. And
We're
it's
gonna have.
reminiscent of some of maybe Van Gogh's earlier
Yeah.
works in that it has a movement to it, and it has the paint handling is phenomenal as well.
We'll have to have a longer look. It's not leaping up.
Yeah, I've tried searching it out before and have not had success.
Right.
Though that painting, anybody who goes to the Met,
Yeah.
search that painting out in their catalog because it is stunning. It's part of their permanent collection. So,
Right.
and
I'm gonna
I've
have a
visited that painting, oh, probably 12 or 15 times over my life.
love that. Okay. August Hay. We can have my stand up. My moment when I was younger was the the Raft of the Medusa by Géricault in the Louvre. It's an enormous painting. The guy's toenails are like this. I
Yeah,
don't understand how you can be that close to the canvas and get it right. Right? You've got to, you'll be forever.
there are techniques to that.
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah,
my first podcast is coming out tomorrow, and it's with a mural painter that I really respect. He was one of the founders of the Montreal Mural Festival,
yeah,
Jason Botkin, and he gets into his technique to be able to take the large scale and make it accurate at a distance is next level.
yeah. Brilliant.
It's a whole set of skills that one can develop.
Yeah. Final question then on this tour. We need to pick this up and go on a longer tour together.
Oh,
Uh,
please.
and it's Hero Day. in Poland. Okay, I've booked a restaurant for you with 3 other seats at your table, and you can invite anyone you like, and they will come, living or dead.
Wow. I mean, there are so many that popped in my mind. I'm going to go with the first one that jumped in my space, and that is Alejandro Jodorowsky. If you're not familiar with him, he is a fantastic character. He did a series of movies that I really think are marvelous works of art rather than simple and pure entertainment. He also is one of the most intelligent observers of the Tarot and is responsible for the reintroduction of the Marseille deck,
Oh,
which is one of the oldest extant Tarot decks that we know of, with its original colors and content, and reproduced that and put it out. And it's a fantastic deck if anybody's into Tarot. It's not super well known like the Rider-Waite or one of those, but he's also just a fascinating character with this like ability to riff and go on tangents and yeah, really an interesting guy.
good. He's your dinner guest then for the time being. Now, I know I'm conscious of our time, but I wanted to give you the chance. This has been great. I hope you've enjoyed your trip, by the
Oh
way.
yeah.
You've got some exciting things starting today, which I wanted to give you the chance to talk about.
Yeah, so I graduated with a coaching certificate from Enlisted. Enlisted Mindset Coaching is about story work, digging into the stories we tell ourselves and learning how to craft those stories for better outcomes and better results in our lives and better feels. So I'm taking that into a lot of work that I easily incorporate into my previous knowledge set and am doing workshops on mindset, how to recraft our stories. My first one is in regards to law and how our relationship with our own mindset affects our outcomes when we go into the world and deal with organizations, external authorities, all of those things. I'm going to be doing another one on our relationship with money. I want to do another one soon for artists on the relationship with the starving artist syndrome and things of that nature. And I also am in the process of developing, speaking of Dungeons and Dragons, a tabletop role-playing game coaching methodology that I will be. I'm in the process of crafting a handbook for those who want to instigate a learning paradigm into that game at home, or other DMs who want to dungeon masters, game masters who want to incorporate that into their games. And so it involves an integrative practicum into that game where you have a post-game review and homework that goes with it. So there's a whole set of processes and tools that go with that obviously we don't have time to completely go into. And then I have a coaching clientele that I've begun with and am taking on clients as I'm able. And that's at my website, beautyseedstudios.com/mindset coaching.
Excellent. Well, we'll make sure that that's included and linked from the
Great.
profile that we'll write about you. So we're going to write a profile about you and all of the work that you're doing. We'll embed this interview. We'll embed some of the images, and we'll write the profile about you. That'll be on YouTube and on SoundCloud and on our website, and then also we'll then write the profile and publish it so that the 1 million monthly users of our LinkedIn groups get to see.
Love it.
That's the plan.
Yep.
Abe, thank you so much for sparing the time today. I know it's the beginning of your day. It's the end of mine.
Likewise.
It's been lovely. Please don't dart off, but for the time being, please check out Beauty Seeds Studios, beautyseedstudios.com. And there'll be lots of links and examples of work down there.
I love it.
Abe, thank you so much.
Likewise, I enjoyed the call, enjoyed chatting with you. Look forward to doing it again soon.
Excellent. Many thanks.
You too.